Hey, everybody. Taking a deep breath right now. Starting a little bit later, just trying to sort out some streaming things. Seems like we have it under control. Getting into the vibe of this track a little bit. Looks like Acid Bat was first today. Cheers. Saturday morning cartoons, huh? Should I be animated? Martin Crockett is here. Pavel is back. Been a little while. Luminous Cloud. Live Society. Nice crew of regulars. This is good. Josh Holiday. Joy Patrick. Hello, Human. DJ Side FX. Michael Johnson. Kozeps. Hi. And Simple Sam back for the new year. One of our most consistent. Actually, a bunch of you in here. And some new ones. Really glad to see new names in the chat. Future World Machines. Ben Colts. Hello, producers. And Scott Stiles. Did I say Scott Stiles? Hello, everybody. It's almost quarter after the hour. I set the start time for 1:15 here in New York. Let's get on down. What's up, everybody? It's Selway Techno Saturday. My name is John Selway. This is 343 TV, brought to you by 343 Labs Music Production School in New York and Berlin and online. Yeah, I got my glasses on today. I don't know. I'm middle-aged. My eyes are, they're changing day by day. Sometimes I feel like I need them and sometimes I don't. And today I felt like I was just having to try a little too hard to focus. So let's, this is helping me kind of get into the details today. And, right, you know what we do. 343 Labs is a music production school. We teach all sorts of things. A lot of Ableton Live, sort of general music production courses in Ableton Live. Of course, other DAWs, like Logic, I think would be the other main one that we do. Mixing and mastering, songwriting and arranging. There's got to be some music theory thrown in there. I do a synthesis and sound design course. We're actually starting an in-person course here in New York. I think it's Wednesday evenings, if I recall correctly, and then a Sunday afternoon online version. That's happening towards the end of the month. And so, yeah, if you're interested, there's still time to jump in. Anything you need to know about what we do, what courses are available and what the schedule is. And, if you just want to know more details and how to get in touch with us, all our info is in the description below. And, links for the New York school, for our in-person courses in Berlin. And, roughly the same courses are available between the two, but there's some variation depending on, who's teaching and what they're doing. And then online classes, of course, available anywhere, wherever you are. And private lessons even. I've been doing that a little bit more lately. People will go through their courses and then they still want a little bit of guidance, mentorship, or getting into something specific. Really diving into, what they're trying to do. Also, actually, sometimes private lessons are what people want more than group classes. I mean, we have it all. So, and we have our studio subscription program you can get into. Just did a mentorship session this week, and I really enjoy doing that because, it's one-on-one time. It's short. It's not as intense as a full lesson. It's just a few minutes just to listen and give feedback or general advice. And I hear lots of different kinds of music, which is great. And I enjoy that. It kind of keeps me on my toes. Let's see who else is popped into the chat in the last couple of minutes. Looks like we've got Silver Knobs HMDT back. That is great. Good to see you. And Sonic Mind. And Will Yosef. Great. And Street Up. Happy new electro year. Happy new techno year. Happy New Year. It's still January. I guess we can still say Happy New Year. What's the limitation on when it's cool to stop saying Happy New Year? Any minute now, I would imagine. Right. So today I was thinking about what to do, and speaking of what, just back to what kind of courses we offer, we have a couple of genre-specific courses, one of which that I do. It's 6 sessions, online only, and it's just making techno. And it's kind of a general, sort of my take on it's kind of like what I do here in the stream, but a little more focused and a little more step-by-step. And that's going on right now. And I loaded up a project here that, from what I'm working on with the class. And I figured, why not just sort of connect the two? I've done this before. I've taken something from a class and brought it in here to the stream to kind of go over things. And really, I was feeling a little mellow today. And it's a dubby 1-chord, kind of filtered chord, techno groove. And it's energetic, right? The kick drum is still pretty thumping, but I've got the hypnotic modulating chord thing going on. So, and really I just want to, no big lesson here. Let's just hang out and work on the track together and see how it goes. And, we'll be exploring. Sometimes, I like to do that. I'll come on with no preset sort of no set destination, and we'll just kind of see where we get. So a couple more names in here. Half God, Half Beast is here. Very nice. And someone kick that bot out on Twitch, please. Thomas is here, as always, keeping an eye on things, making sure things are smooth. So any information that we need to share, like links and things, he's usually around for that. And then also I'm going to tell him to go get that bot. All right. Let's just start listening to what I've got. No need to dally any longer. Switch into my main view here. I have got some sort of, well, let's just listen to where I'm at the moment. That's the vibe. And where we're at in the course, in the Making Techno course, is it's just the hypnotic groove. It's starting with drums and a couple of sounds, and then just getting that loop going, getting the feel, the energy level that you want to start off with. And we started with a kick and some low percussion elements, and we talked about different approaches for that, like depending on what style you want to go for. And not getting too much into sound design, at least with synthesis. Like so far, it's been kind of focused on samples, one-shot sounds, and maybe even presets from synths and effects, right? Not getting, and that's one of the things that I like to think about, when I'm doing when I do the Making Techno course, is it's just like getting into it quickly, and you don't necessarily have to have a lot of experience in like making your own sounds. You can make techno with anything really, and it's just sort of how you use it. So that's sort of where we're at. The first day we were like, listening to different type. It was like a discussion. We were listening to different tracks and talking about our influences and sort of like some historical references of techno, and then what's going on in the modern day, and sort of trying to make some connections there, and just getting a feel for everybody in the class, like where we're all at, what we're trying to achieve, and then got into drums and percussion, and then we got into starting to add the rhythmic musical elements, or just going beyond the drums, and starting to think about elements that are the not necessarily the hook, but like main musical elements in the track, like, bass lines, chord progressions, or just weird noises, or if you're just making crazy noise or industrial techno or something. And so this is one of the things I got into, and I decided I like this enough. It's a tad generic, but I like it, and I'm going to keep working on it and making it into a track. Interesting. Already getting some comments in here. Glad you like the vibe, Simple Sam and Pavel. And are my pop-up comments working? There it is. Sounds Yan Cookish coming from Zeliko. I'm sorry if I didn't get that right. It is a little bit. I mean, also I like. I'm sure some of you guys have seen the Yan Cook tutorials. He makes some good, like really precise, focused techno tutorials. Those are good reference. And it is a little bit in that realm. And he has a really good sound that's not over complex, and I appreciate that because I kind of like to do that too. I try to get a lot out of a few elements rather than layering a million things. All right, so these are the drums in the background. Actually, I originally had this going a little bit more busy. This was gonna start in a heavier, kind of drummier vibe. Right, and I've got that more industrial, crunchy tom on top there. But then once I put the chord stabs on it, I felt like they were battling. You know, because drums like this could be the main thing in your track, right? So so I simplified it. Let's hear that with the kick. And there's also, I mean, you can see these are just some sort of filtered toms, and I've got them EQ'd like crazy. One of the things we were talking about in class was using EQ and filters and distortion to bring out resonance, to bring out tones. And so, you know, I'm exaggerating these drums a little bit, driving into the saturator, so it's making some of these frequencies kind of clip more and come out a little bit more. And then adding atmosphere to your track. Like, this is I just threw an echo preset on here. And you know I've done this before. This is a pretty typical thing to do in techno in general. Is just use filtered delays and adding rhythm and atmosphere to drums with layers of effects like this. So that's what we were discussing. And then I always love playing around with feedback. Right, so that's very dark and trippy. And that could be an arrangement element later on. Right now I'm just sort of keeping it in the background a little bit. And if you listen carefully, I tried to get these chord stabs. And these chord stabs, I stole them. These are from a loop from a library. I didn't make the synth. I'm not playing these chords. This was like a shortcut. And that's another thing I discussed. Like, there's a lot of techno that is sample-based workflow, and that's totally cool. You don't have to make everything from scratch. And there's plenty of even if it's, you know, your own samples that you made from material that you found rather than coming out of a library. But like the sound you get from chopping up audio is different than when you play notes into a synth. And that's sort of part of how this ended up the way it was. So this is just, you know, this is a loop and simpler. And I just picked a couple of them and made a new pattern rather than just looping the clip as it was. And I'm actually going to turn the effects off here for a second because I want you to hear it more clearly with the drums. And this is something I really like to do is with grooves is have a pockets where sounds go back and forth. So I'm trying to make it so you're not hearing the toms, the filtered toms and the percussion happen on top of the chords. They're in a similar frequency range. So sometimes they play together. I think this one maybe. Yeah. So some of them are kind of, you can hear it more clearly here, right? These three hits are alternating with when the tom is playing. Let's see if I can select the MIDI a little bit. Right. We're really only hearing this and this. I said tom, they're actually kick samples that are filtered and they sound sort of like toms. So yeah, I'm trying to get them to play back and forth is the idea. All right, let's go and turn, and then these are playing with. So those beats are accented a little bit more because both those sounds are playing together. Zeliko, glad I got your name right. I like the suggestion from Live Society. Yeah, you could create drones and atmospheres off just that one tom sound. And that's another lesson from the class, is a lot of techno is like layers of effects. You're not necessarily adding new instruments. You're able to add elements based on the effects that you use. And you know, like anything that resonates, or like reverbs, resonators, things like that. Actually, now that I've said it, let's experiment a little bit. I'm gonna add, I don't know, should I do this as an insert effect or should I do it as a return? That's another question that students have. It's a decision that you make as a producer, where to put the effect, where does it make sense? And it depends on what you're trying to do, right? If I want to totally transform a sound into something else, most often that's going to be adding an effect as an insert. It's going to be in the chain, in the signal chain, after where the sound source is. But if I want to be able to bring an effect in and out, like doing throws to reverbs and delays, for example, I would use it on a return. Or if I want to have many sounds going into a one effect, I might use a return. Of course, you can also group tracks and put inserts on the group. There's always multiple ways to do it. But what I'm thinking about is trying to add, I'm going to take a little bit of this suggestion from Live Society and create some kind of texture, some kind of atmospheric, pad-like, drone-like texture with effects on the drums. Let's see if we can do that. And if I could just insert the effect here. And this is the drum in the drum rack, and then that's going into the drum kit, right? And then this has all this effect on it. So and this has a lot of distortion actually. So if I start adding stuff to the drum before all that, well, let's try it. Let's see what happens. I was thinking of putting like a resonator or something on this drum to add tone. We can go old school, go back to use resonators and make this play a chord or a note. So it's going to make this like another chord stab. What key am I in? I'm using my ear here to figure out how I should tune this resonator. Sounds like D sharp is in tune or in key with that chord. It could be a different note. But I'm gonna go with D sharp as like the one of my chord. And then we can just do a minor third, 3 semitones up. I'm gonna do 2 of them. And then a 7 semitones for a 5th. Ooh, what happened? Increase the decay. Right now, you're not hearing the drum anymore, you're just hearing the resonator. You know what I think I'm going to do? Because I want to think of this more as a drone or something atmospheric, it makes sense actually. You know, right now it's just adding a chord to the drum, right? But I want to make this sound like it's more separate. So this is where I might put it on a return. All right, so let's go over here, add a return track. Going to drag that resonator over to the return. I'm going to make sure it's 100% wet. Now, if I send it from the drum rack, it's going to play whatever's coming out of that drum rack. If I add more drums to it, it's going to add in there. It looks like there's some more names in the chat. Who else is in here? Did I already? Oh, Narcissus Jr., hello. Wispa's back. I think I already said hi to Netrunner, but just in case I didn't, hi Netrunner. Peter T. Are you watching on, where does it say Instagram? Yeah, I think we might be live on Instagram too. Is that where you started? Glad you're learning today. Thank you. All right, let's get back into this. I'm going to actually take this up to make, instead of playing sort of the same kind of chord that the original chord stab is doing, I'm going to bring this up like a fifth, right? So that's an A sharp now. I'm going to try, just play around with the resonator. Playing with the filter at the input, and that's going to determine how much of the original signal is, filtered going into the resonator. That's darker, obviously, now. I like that now. There's a little knock to it. It's still, I'm kind of leaning towards the percussiveness of it still. I want to try to figure out how to make it more sustained and more atmospheric than it is already. Can also actually, we can pan these. Okay. I like it. How can we space it out even more? Give me some effect suggestions maybe while we listen to this. Netrunner saying add some texture. What kind of texture? Granular maybe, to kind of crunch it up and spread it out a little bit. Reverb would be good. It's already a little reverby. Resonators have something in common with reverb, right? Reverbs can have resonance. Rooms have resonance, right? Certain frequencies are more exaggerated in the space. Future World Machines is saying reverse reverb. Do you know what I want to do? I've been forgetting. I noticed recently there was an update of one of the free Valhalla reverbs lately, and I haven't used. I keep forgetting about the Valhalla reverbs, and they're great, and they have cool. It's kind of like the Supermassive. It's like a hybrid delay reverb, and it sounds really cool. And let's start running through some presets and see what this does, because it's got some cool filtered modulating, even granular like things, because you have the delay and you can warp it and you can make it more diffuse. And it kind of, like I said, it's sort of between a delay and a reverb. We can try some of these sound effects. Let's see what these do. Boards of AFX? I don't know. That's really quiet. Let's turn this up a little bit so everybody can hear it. Could try some modulating ones. It has some, chorus flanging type things. I like this one because it's delay, reverb, and it's panning and spinning around a little bit. And it's sort of out of time. How's that going to sound with the beat? It's actually, maybe we got to think about that. If it's rhythmic in the wrong way, it might start sounding cluttered. trying out presets, just trying to get ideas. More sort of overlapping dubby dotted eighth note delay going on. Sometimes I like what happens, it'll make these little artifacts when you switch between presets. I like this one too, because it's got the delay in it, but it's also sort of smooth and expansive and floating. Narcissus Jr. is asking if I use Reason in Ableton at all. I have. I don't have the full version of the latest update of Reason. But it does add a lot of complexity into your session to use Reason as a plugin. It's amazing you can do that though. Future World Machines is complaining, why are all the Valhalla presets always set to 100% mix? I think because they're thinking you're going to put them on a return track, which is exactly what I'm doing. You're right though, if you use it as a insert effect, that's really annoying. I like the idea of playing with the frequency going into the resonator a little bit. Also, let's tighten this up a little bit. I want to make this a little noisy and a little bit more full. How do we do that? Compression, saturation. What happens when you put distortion on pretty atmospheric sounds and reverbs? That can be interesting. I mean, like, what happens if I do this? Oh, now it's getting a little loud. Let's turn that down. All right, so we're getting all the resonance from the reverb kind of cracking up in the overdrive. Where here it's distorting out of the resonator, and then you're hearing all that noise getting reverbed out. Does this even sound good? It sounds great by itself, but does it sound good with the beat? Let's see. Not sure. It's a little too much, right? It's like bringing out too much ringiness. All right, I'm gonna stop with the reverb for a second and listen to what... I like what it's doing when it's kind of ringy and metallic on the top like that. What happens if I also send the other chords through the same effect? I don't know. Too much ringing? I didn't have any idea I'd be going in this direction today, but I think at the top of the show, that's what we said. We're just going to explore and experiment and see what happens. So, mission accomplished already? I like what this is doing. It can potentially kind of get out of hand, though. All right, let's hear this with a hi-hat. I want a little energy for a second. There's the closed hi-hat. Too busy. Maybe it needs to be shorter. Or maybe you want to just keep it really more sort of minimalistic. And oops. I like that. still playing with the resonator. When I put too much, when I put more low into the overdrive, it's like too crunchy, right? Maybe we need to control it a little bit with some compression. I don't know. Let's go back to the reverb. Maybe it's just too loud on the reverb. Or maybe I need to give it a little bit of dry signal. What happens if we play with this? Subtle. Although it's kind of nice when you turn the knobs, you hear little washes of noise going on. So that could be automated. I also have effects on this sound. There's a flanger just slowly sweeping up and down. And then we have subtle changes with the filter. I like how this sounds going through the resonator. There's a beat repeat in there I forgot about. It's adding a little layer of like repeating some of those chord stabs. I have an idea for that actually. I'm gonna put that in a rack so I can separate it out from the dry. I'm gonna make this gate, which means you're only gonna hear the repeated slices. And then I'll make an extra chain to be the dry signal. And then this could be processed separately. What should we do to it? Gonna do more distortion and reverbs and resonance and delays and just really, I don't know, why not? What happens if I put a redux after that? Cool. I'm so hypnotized by this. I forget to talk with music like this. I just get so wrapped up in the little details of the sounds. Spectral blur? I don't know. Spectral time? These spectral effects are really powerful and they can sometimes kind of add latency. But let's try it. Let's put spectral time after this layer. Let's see how weird we can get. It's doing that little spinny thing now. Do you hear it? It's subtle. But for me, that's what makes it. When I put my headphones on and listen to this and you hear these little things changing, real subtle. All right, I'm changing the re-trigger to sync. I don't know, it might be that it's just not drastic enough to really hear what's happening in there. I think I liked it better before when it was just, when it's set to onset, it's re-triggering that spectral time sort of it's re-triggering when it happens according to the amplitude of the incoming signal. What does it sound like wet? It's really subtle. That's cool. Okay. I like what's happening there. I can even actually, I'm almost forgetting, there's a filter on the beat repeat. So I can make that brighter or darker. I feel like I want that to be a little bit more up front. Let's just use a compressor. So I can bring this out more. Whoa, too much. You get the idea. But I like it. It just needs to be balanced. I like those beat repeat repetitions going through the spectral thing. It's a little exaggerated right now. At least I can hear it better. Let's turn it down. And see what the spectral time does. It'll be a little more obvious. Still subtle on the sound. I'm delaying, I'm changing where the repeat of the freezer is happening. You know what? This thing should modulate. But this doesn't have an LFO in it. Let's get an LFO. I'm going to throw that in right here. We're going to map that to the filter frequency. That's too wide. I want to control how far up and down it goes. I can do that here. I can have like the sort of the overall percentage, the low and the high, sort of minimum and maximum amount. That looks a little bit more like what I was doing. Let's slow that down a bit. Still a little hectic. Maybe I should slow it down even more. Sweeping up and down like that is cool. I wonder though, let's try, I'm going to do synced instead and then random. So it's changing every bar now and you can see it's jumping suddenly. Let's try. Cool. That resonator is really transforming a lot, isn't it? I'm kind of having second thoughts about this whole signal path now with the resonator going to the overdrive and the reverb, because it's like there's some frequencies that are sticking out a lot. Maybe it's the overdrive. Yeah. I'm going to use it instead of ringing too much in the mids. Maybe we'll use it for the highs to make it crispy. All right, I feel like I need to take a little break. My mind is starting to wander. Let's pause and discuss a little bit. Let's check in with the chat and see how everybody's doing. Future World has got it turned up loud and waiting for the drop. Yeah, there's no drop. This is like endless traveling through the universe music at this point. Now we could, and when I go in, this is not arrangement mode today. This is just like playing around with effects on this groove and sort of. I mean, obviously we've gone into dub techno direction with these layers of delays and resonance and reverbs, right? That's like, and then some distortion too. Like we're building up kind of a space for the beat to exist in with all these different layers of effects. And yeah, I really love playing around with this stuff, but I wouldn't normally always do kind of a build up and a drop with this kind of a track. I kind of just want it to go. And you'll bring things in and out, but it's not going to like bang you over the head like a big drop would. But we could combine those things. There are dubby tracks, or there are harder techno tracks that have dubby elements to them and that have that energy as well. So, hey, Aaron Hedges, he's suggesting maybe a pitch change on the last delay, like an octave up. Now I do love that sort of thing with dub chord things where you'll hear different pitches happening at different times. The way I've got this sample sliced up, because I'm not playing MIDI notes into a synth, I can't just transpose it with MIDI, but I would have to use automation to change the pitch, which actually, why not? Let's let's say I did want to do a pitch variation in this. Like in this, these are all slices of a chord pattern that is just playing one chord, right? It's not transposing. And I'm transposing the MIDI notes to play different slices of that sample, but it's not changing the pitch. So if I want to change the pitch, I actually have to automate the transpose. Which is actually kind of cool. So yeah, I would need to do that. And I think this is what you mean. Transposing the echoes would also have to be effects automation. And could I even do that with these effects? It depends. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to unlink the envelope and make the length of the loop, let's say 4 bars for now. And that's the transpose. Right, so that's the original tuning. And let's say I wanted to play in the 4th bar. Maybe that's right there, that last couple of hits could be an octave higher. So I'll just transpose it up right there. Yeah. Not sure. It's because it's like making the sample sort of chipmunk out. It's like it's too short. I'm not sure if I like that, but maybe lower. Maybe. That's okay. It's kind of cool. But again, because I'm transposing up a slice, maybe if I put warp on, let's see what happens if I put warp on. That's going to stretch the length of it out. So when I transpose it up, it's going to sound fuller. It's going to sound longer, hopefully. Let's go to complex, actually. Nah, it's adding some weird... I don't know. It's okay. But it's changed the sound of it, right? It is sounding fuller that way, though, but it's changed something else about the sound. What if you do tones instead? That's even fuller still. Forgot about this. There's a fade on each slice. So that's becoming more percussive. This is another thing I could play with. That's like some musical variation. It's a little less trancey that way. I'm gonna try an octave again. There's some weird artifacts in there from the time stretching. But I like it. Do you know what I want to do? I want to have that higher hit throw to a big reverb. All right, so I'm going to go to Mixer, Reverb Send. I think that's right. Yeah, unlink. Let's make that 4. Right, and I just want to draw in the reverb to send just on that high. Right there. All right, there's no reverb on, I forgot I deleted the reverb on there. Let's throw another instance of Valhalla on there because we were thinking about that today. And there we go, super massive. And I'm gonna put a ridiculous massive reverb on there. It's so slow. The reverb takes forever to kind of bloom up. Wait, what does that sound like by itself? Long reverb. That's just a sustained pad now, basically. Just trying some different presets. Really long. All right, that has potential. Maybe some slightly less insane ones, just large reverbs rather than insanely massive reverbs. Yeah. That might be a little bit more suitable. How would this sound with an open hi-hat instead? Let's see. I feel like it's a little dry, but I like it. Put some delays on that. Here's your drop, but it's going to be anticlimactic, I think. Probably in an arrangement, I would get rid of that high one in that section. Maybe drop back, a little less space, a little more dry. That's something to think about when you're arranging with this kind of music, actually, is more reverby and wet versus drier and sort of close and tight sounding. You can use that to, automating effects in and out, so you can change the sense of space while you're listening to it. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with how this is going. Wispa says I should shorten the envelope on the hi-hat. Yeah, I mean, we like the tighter hi-hats for this kind of music, I think. So I also would kind of EQ it and process it a little bit differently, probably, but like this is just real clean right out of the sampler. I feel like I should make it a little sharper and more, just to give it a different shape. A little more, yeah, I feel like resonant and a little sharper would be good. Even like, now it's hardcore, but just an idea. Just squashes it a little bit. Silver Knobs is suggesting delicate, quiet cymbals on the right channel, like panned differently. I mean, these are just some. These aren't very delicate. These would need to be a little different, right? We do the. Thin it out a little bit, right? Or maybe it just needs a totally different sound. That's a little too much. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I need a different sound for that. And yes, Wispa, less is more. With this kind of music, right? You don't want to overdo it. I have enough, for sure, I have enough to make a whole track now. It just depends on how... Do I want it to be really minimal and tracky, or do I want to add more musical development to it or add other types of sounds to it? I really just still kind of, linking this back to the Making Techno course, we're trying to like explore the hypnotic groove first as much as possible before we think about like hooks and melodies. And, in a way, it's kind of sort of like learning not to do typical stuff. Right? And exploring weird noises and effects and concentrating on rhythm and trying to learn how to make a groove that is interesting without a lot of changes all the time. That's sort of what I was trying to impart. And that's what I'm doing today. I'm focusing in on the whole, the feel and the space and the mood and the rhythm first. Yep. So I'm not feeling that typical 909 ride for this. I might want like a thinner kind of ride sample. Even like something, there's just a lot of random. Like these are too like live sounding. But it still might be cool like with a high pass filter on it. I like how this has a modulation in it. I'm not sure that this is going to work. One of the other things we were talking about in the class is like picking out sounds and not thinking about it too much. And I've done this on the stream too, is like literally the first thing that if you hear a sound and you're like, oh, that might be okay, just put it in there, even if you don't know if it's perfect or not. I'm going to high pass this and I'm just going to make it play with the kick drum. All right. So let's just hear how it sounds. We'll isolate the kick and the ride. I'm going to put... Like that's like a delicate sound, right? I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to make this more continuous by looping it. You hear that, right? It's panning randomly. What if we do a little... I always do this on rides. I love it. slight detuning, it takes them out of phase and it sounds a little shiny that way. I might even compress something like this to make it sound just like smoother. A little more just like a layer of noise almost. That's on the wrong track. That goes here. That's something to play around with. It's a good suggestion, and I think I could work on that a little bit more. How are we doing for time? It's 2:08. We started about 1:15, so we have a few more minutes left. But let's chat a little bit more before we wrap things up. Suli Velasco. Hi, Suli. You're another new name. Nice to have you here. Increase attack. Do you mean that on the ride symbol? If I do that, nice. You're right. It's like a little, it's almost like a shaker shape at the beginning, but it's got the tone of a thin ride cymbal. That could be something to play with too. Nice suggestion there. Pretty cool. Shaker. James Porch hears crinkly ASMR noises in a lot of stuff at the moment. You mean in general? Like little crunchy stuff? That does happen a lot. And it's like, I mean, if I wanted to add that element here, I might look at like granular effects and things that do those little random clicks and stuff like that. But just having a little kind of fuzzy distortion in the high frequencies can give you that vibe as well. So that's interesting. David Schwartz, good question. Good comment and question here. I find I can spend hours tweaking sounds with effects. When is it done? Yeah, I mean, you have to not go, right? You got to recognize, that's all in you, right? You have to like learn to stop yourself. If you feel like you're, going too far down the rabbit hole into a particular direction, you've got to stop and take a breath and do something else. And that might be a good way to do it, is just take a break and then come back to it. And if you might listen to it, oh great, this is good, I can just leave that and move on to the next thing. Or you might think you need to fix it or something like that. They're sticking to a workflow can help. Like if you say, today I'm just going to do sound design and then tomorrow I'm going to make beats, right? And okay, that doesn't always work because like, especially for me, I like doing the sound design and the composition and arranging simultaneously, right? And so there are times when playing with effects slows me down. And I'll go, I just spent an hour working with filters and resonators and reverbs, and then now it's like a mess. And then you go back to where you started. But I don't know. Some other days I get it right the first time and I don't have to go back. Or the other one is just learn to let yourself enjoy it and let it be what it is, right? It's all mental stuff most of the time. I'm sorry I can't give you a more clear answer on when is it done, but yeah, you have to I guess if you're not sure, stop and do something else and then come back to it. Deadlines are helpful. Absolutely. Like I have to get this done by the end of the week. Give yourself artificial deadlines. Like if you're not like putting out releases on a label with a regular release schedule. Oh, sorry. I'm knocking into my microphone stand here. If you're not working with a label that's got a regular release schedule and you've got to get the tracks submitted and get them mastered and get them for the promo, blah, 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 there's never really a deadline. So you have to give yourself one. Like maybe you say, I'm going to make, 4 new tracks a month or something. That'd be great. I don't even do that. I start more tracks than that per month, but I don't finish 4 tracks per month. I finish them when I need to, kind of. I like having that pressure off, actually, since I don't produce for a living, right? As much, I'm not out there DJing and traveling and performing and putting out records all the time. I do it because I like to, and also I do it because I'm teaching. So that really, then I don't worry about how long it took me to play with effects, because I'm just enjoying playing with effects. So, but if someone asks me to do a remix, there's going to be a deadline, and then I work towards that. Cool. Just scrolling up the chat here a little bit. Silver Knobs had suggested a short but delicate snare. We were talking about that, using snares in techno in class, in the Making Techno class. And it's a stylistic thing. Like, I feel like most modern techno that DJs are playing, not always, but most, doesn't really have a lot of snare drums on the 2 and 4. You'll hear it syncopated. You'll hear it in fills. And if you're doing more ravey stuff, you might have the snare drum roll, that kind of thing, in a build up. But like, if I add a snare to this, right, jury's out on that ride signal. Like even if I add like that snare is completely inappropriate for this track, and it's too loud as well. And that's the first one. That fits better. It's still not the right sound for this groove. So I would either replace that sound, or, because I can edit this sound, I can... All right, there's no decay on this one, but yeah, I probably want to find a different sound. But you get the point, right? Like a big doesn't doesn't give this track what I want. But maybe like a tighter one, like an 808 one, or like a real short, could even be like a rim shot sort of a thing. Let's see. Let's get rid of that snare drum. This is gonna be the last thing. I feel like, even though I know I don't need a snare, I don't really, not that I don't need it, I'm not sure I want a snare. Just gonna try to find some random snare sound in one of these, maybe, let's use one of these synth drums from Wave Alchemy. Classic snares. Or maybe smacks, tight snares. That's what you're thinking. Maybe. None of these are really jumping out at me. Sometimes what I'll do is, if I go through a bunch of samples, it's like that meme where they're the slot machines picking snares. Anybody seen that? That's what I'm doing. Even if I'm not sure that it's going to work, I put it in there anyway, just to do it. But already, even though I'm not in love with that snare, you can hear how short and tight it is. It works better with this groove than the fuller, kind of noisier 909 snare. It's like a little electro-y kind of zap in the background there now. All right. I think that's enough. I'm going to say thank you to everybody for hanging out and getting into this repetitive one chord dubby techno thing today. And, it was interesting exploring the layers of effects and adding atmosphere and new tones. And, the concept, I like that concept of kind of thinking about how the drums are interacting with the chord stabs and how they're both running through effects. And the layers sort of add up, and it starts to be more than the sum of its parts if you do it right, I think. And also, I just like this vibe. I like deep, dubby, hypnotic techno. You can just chill to it. This one, playing this on a big loud system, it's going to be pretty heavy. It's not going to be peak time, but it's still going to move some feet, hopefully. And, yeah, so that's what we did today, and we talked a little bit about, what we've been doing in the Making Techno course, and I'll remind everyone that I'm doing the synth sound design course starting soon, online and in person here in New York. There probably is still a spot or two if you're interested. And as always, if you want to know more about what's happening with 343 Labs and 343 Studio, you've got all the links down in the description. And join our Discord if you haven't already. Still deciding when the next feedback sessions are going to be. I promise. I know I've been saying this for a couple months now, but it will happen. And I've got some guests coming. It's going to be good. I think I know who I want for the Techno feedback session next time. So we'll announce that date. I think I'm meeting this particular guest in a couple of days, and we're going to nail down the date. So I'll have that announced pretty soon. So enjoy your week. See you next time, and adios.